Hey guys, what's up? I know it's me, Sheena Marie, and it's been a minute, but you know, new year, same me. I took a break for a while. Some changes has happened, as you can see in the title. I had a child. I had a little boy. I know, right? Changes. Talk about. He was born January 5th at 8:11 a.m. and I am pretty much going to talk about the events that led up to, you know, my son being born and how that experience went. And you know, I may be a little traumatized having a hospital birth. Don't think I ever want to do that again. So yeah, here's a little story time. So his due date was supposed to be January 1st. Me and my boyfriend were really hoping for that, but you know, things don't go as planned and he was a little bit late. But it's cool though, because he ended up being born on the 5th. And with that being said, when the first rolled around, I really thought that, you know, things were going to get moving, but that wasn't the case. I started contracting, you know, some days before. They weren't that major though. And might I say, contractions can go to hell. They're not fun whatsoever. I don't know what I was expecting, but you know, that wasn't it. So yeah, the contractions, they were starting about a couple days before, but you know, like I said, they weren't that serious. They didn't start hitting hard until the night of the 4th. January 4th is when they started hitting a little hard for your girl. And I'm talking, I was throwing up, peeing on myself because it hurt so bad. Yes, they say they're like cramps, but it's like someone taking that cramp and like pinching your titty at the same time, but like pinching it with like a hard clamp and then like heating up your uterus with a cowl, you know, the little cowl. It hurts, okay? They hurt. So yeah, that was going on all night. I had a doula who was super great. She ended up coming over and, you know, assisting and helping. Due to COVID, unfortunately, she was not able to come to the hospital. Sucks. Again, hospital birth wasn't what I was expecting. You know, granted, you know, in these new times that we're in, I wasn't expecting too much, but still, I'll get to why soon. So it's me if you hear it in the background, that's him in the back. He wants some milk. You know, you can give him to me if you need to. My doula came over. She was assisting me, you know, talking me through the contractions. She was assisting me through them, just soothing me. My boyfriend, he was helping too. Of course, you know, when pain is hitting you that hard, you tend to be a little bitchy, and I was a little bitchy to him. You know, I felt bad, but overall, I did appreciate all that he did and all that my doula did for me, because due to me being at home and contracting for so long, I had to wait until my contractions were 5 minutes apart, lasting for about a minute, I believe. And then once it got to that point, we ended up going to the hospital around 6 a.m. August 5th. What? January 5th. Wow, I was looking at a squirrel. We ended up going to the hospital around 6 a.m. And when I got there, still, contractions are still hitting. They still hurt hard as ever. They took me up to triage to, you know, make sure that I was in labor. Got there, you know, I threw up again all over the place. Luckily, it was just liquid. It wasn't anything bad because I couldn't eat. So I got dressed. Also, I had a bag packed that had, like, you know, I had bought my own gown to wear with like a matching pillowcase. I had these cute little socks. You have to have socks with grips on them, and they had like some sayings on them, and I was so excited to wear them because I was like, oh, the little nurses are gonna think they're so cute. Didn't have time. Did not have time for that whatsoever. So I was like, bust. Such a bust. We got into triage. They hooked me up to everything to see if I was in labor. And yeah, I was 7 centimeters dilated when I got there. You gotta be 10 centimeters to start pushing. So they were like, oh yeah, girl, you are in labor. So they took me up to the delivery room that I was gonna be in, and I got the show going. I think it took about 30 minutes until I was able to push. And then, you know, when it's time to push, I didn't know that you'll know when it's time to push. It feels like a huge poop coming out your front. If that makes sense. Comes in waves. Like, it doesn't feel like that all the way straight. So it's like when you feel a contraction, that's when you push, and that's when you feel the poop, not poop, but the feeling of a poop to push. And I did that about 3-4 times. After the 4th time, he was here. My son was here. I did have a birth plan. I don't know, we followed a few things, not too many. Everything happened so fast. Everything happened way too fast to even deal with that. So, I mean, granted, it's like, yeah, it would have been nice to have everything on that plan so carefully, you know, curated by my doula to happen, but things don't always go as planned. So what are you gonna do? I also had no epidural. Y'all, it's amazing what women's bodies can do. It is really amazing. And yes, I wanted it on my birth plan. I did not want epidural, but when I tell you those contractions suck so bad. So I was just like, yes, I would like it, please. Didn't have time. Did not have time to get it. They were prepping me for it. They were trying to move as fast as they could, but I had to push. I gave birth naturally. I felt everything. I felt, you know, the head trying to come out, the head coming out. And then once the head comes out, the body's pretty much, I mean, everything is just super fast then. I also felt my water break, which felt like a blob of water just coming out of you, like a sack of water just popping on you, pretty much like a warm water balloon falling out and busting open. But once he was here, you know, my boyfriend, he saw everything, so he was taking pictures to send to my family. And after that, you know, everything went fine up until it was time for my placenta to come out. Now this is where things get a little traumatizing, and why I will probably never do a hospital birth ever again due to the doctor. I'm not going to say where I was at or anything, because I ain't trying to get sued at all. Well, for those who don't know, when your placenta is, you have to give birth to your placenta as well. You have 30 minutes, a 30-minute window for that to happen. I did not get that window whatsoever. Basically, the doctor was just like, oh, this needs to come out right away. Was forcing my placenta to come out. Basically, like, I know that he was pressing on my stomach, he was just trying to get it out, and then he like yiked his hand like up there to like pull it, and basically my placenta was not how a normal placenta would look. I wanted to do placenta encapsulation so I could take it once I gave birth. Couldn't do it. Could not do it because it just didn't look how a normal placenta would. And you know, another part of that story is coming up as to why I couldn't, but part of it was because of how not put together my placenta was after all of that. Due to it coming out so rough and not gentle, it caused my placenta to pretty much like break in pieces. So it was like coming out in pieces. Like, of course it came out in one big piece, but there were still some parts in there that needed to come out. But again, we'll get to that part. So after that was, what was there of my placenta. Also keep in mind, my son was 4 days late. He was 4 days past his due date. So that also played a part in the placenta, you know, kind of being aged as well. So yeah, that came out. After that whole experience, I was able to actually enjoy my son, you know, looking at him, seeing him, looking at his features, you know, having my boyfriend have his skin-to-skin contact, me having that skin-to-skin contact while we're there, sending pictures to family, having people, our family, you know, talk to us, la la la. It was a beautiful thing overall. You know, granted that one part was not the move. Everything else was great. I was happy to see him. I was fine because it's been so, I pretty much, during my 9th month of pregnancy, I was over it and I was just wanting him to be here at this point, and now he's in my arms. So I was very happy to finally see him and meet this little boy that's been in my belly rummaging around. So also I tore my labia. It was a little small tear. I was kind of afraid that more would have happened, but that, dude, I mean, it wasn't too bad, and I was happy about that. Stitch is like a dissolved stitch. It's still there. I could feel it still doing its thing, so hopefully it'll be gone soon. We were in the hospital for about a day. You know, they were just monitoring me, the bleeding and everything, because once you give birth, you bleed. You're like pretty much just shedding everything that's coming out, which is normal, you know, to happen. But they say you should always look out for like blood clots bigger than a golf ball. So keep that in mind also. Once I gave birth, we were in the hospital for about a day, went home the next day around 12 o'clock, and the aftercare begins. Now, when I got home and taking care of myself, of course, you know, it feels like you gave birth to a bus. Like a bus just came out of you. And you know, you're sore, kind of hard to move around. Luckily for me, I mean, granted, yeah, I'm sitting on a yoga ball right now, and that pretty much, that and my donut pillow helped me tremendously. Helped me so much. With going home, you know, they give you the diapers, which I bought some myself. I mean, if you want, I can show you everything that I packed into my hospital bag if you would like that. If not, you know, I understand. I am kind of late coming to you with all of this, so hey. So yeah, you wear these women diapers that you gotta wear for however long you feel comfortable wearing them. I've stopped. It's going on 3 weeks. Once I bought some postpartum pads, I was fine to, you know, stop wearing them. I was wearing them for a little bit, then I stopped, and then I started wearing them again. And that was due to a couple of days after I gave birth and was home. You know, your body's emptying the remnants of you giving birth. And for me, I've had, you know, some matter come out, some tissue, and we're pretty sure it was placenta still. Now, remember I told you that the doctor was a little rough, trying to get everything out. I'm pretty sure that caused pieces of placenta to still be inside, which is extremely dangerous. I've never heard anyone talk about this before, but yeah, if there's placenta still inside of you, it's very dangerous for your body. It can cause an infection. It can cause you to continue to bleed very heavily and bleed to death. It can cause your milk supply to not come in for your child, which isn't good. And I think for me, what's happening, because there was a point where I felt like he wasn't getting anything, and we did have to put him on formula for a little bit. My milk ended up coming in because I'm pretty sure all the placenta that I was passing was finally coming out. Now, this happened over a course of like a week. I passed like probably like 3 big chunks. Like, I'm talking about like the size of your hand big of placenta, which, you know, we weren't sure what to do until there was one day I woke up and I was not feeling good. Like, I felt myself fighting. It felt like my body was trying to fight off something, which is really weird that it happened out of nowhere, because of course with COVID going on, we don't want it to be that. So what I had to do, pretty much I was going over my symptoms, and in a nutshell, granted, yeah, it had some like, well, I can't say on YouTube, sheesh. It had some like symptoms, but overall, like, I could still taste, I could still smell, and I started feeling better. Like, I had a fever. The fever was the biggest thing for me, but I started feeling better that night. Like, it felt like a 24-hour thing. Like, it didn't last long at all. But during that, I ended up going back to the OBGYN who delivered my child, seeing the person who delivered my child, and basically he told me that, oh, I'm feeling this way because I'm breastfeeding. He told me information that was not what I came there for, just what he was concerned for. And overall, I'm like, this is not what I came here for. I want to know, why am I feeling this way, and why am I still passing matter this big out my, like, it's not a blood clot. It's obviously some sort of tissue. This looks, and I've showed my doula, and she even thinks it was placenta. Pretty sure it was still placenta.
It definitely was still placenta. The last time I went to my doctor, I took the last piece of matter that I passed for them to test to make sure that it was placenta, because when I went to a different doctor, and when they tested, it definitely was placenta.
And it just wasn't, like, I felt like it just wasn't taken seriously. As Black women, you know, medical issues, our issues tend to go unnoticed or go under the radar or just aren't taken seriously. It's scientifically proven that we're just not as taken seriously as, you know, other races, which, you know, is sad, but it's reality. And I definitely felt that. With the place that I went to, I only went there because there was a Black doctor that I wanted overall. I wanted a Black doctor from the jump, and I would, like, there are times where I would see her. I even wanted her to deliver my child. That wasn't the case because I got stuck with this guy. But once I came home from that visit, you know, I started to feel a little better. Granted, when I got there, they took my temperature twice. I wanted them to check it again just to be sure that, you know, because it was low than what I woke up with when I got there, and it was still low. It was lowering when I left. So I was like, okay. When I came back, my temperature was checked again, and it went back. It was high again. So I was just like, okay, weird. Anyway, later that night, you know, I was feeling a little better, still not feeling the best, but I ended up sleeping, taking a nap. Woke up to myself bleeding pretty heavy, pretty heavy. Like, I was bleeding through clothes. Went to the bathroom and felt myself passing more tissue. Now this, I didn't bother to, like, the first time I didn't really bother to look at, because it didn't feel, like, it felt like it was just like a small amount. So I was just like, okay, it's just my body's still getting rid of stuff. I was in a different bathroom, so I wanted to move to the bathroom that had all my stationery. And so when I moved to the other bathroom, things got, you know, a little bad. I was bleeding bleeding heavier, to the point where like blood was kind of getting places, like on the floor, on myself. And I was just on the toilet, and I felt this huge piece of tissue just come out, like huge. I don't know if I feel comfortable showing a picture. If I do, I'll insert it to show what it looks like. This did not look normal. It was placenta. It was still placenta coming out. We're a weekend of me giving birth, and yeah, this is like the third piece. The first piece was just a regular red, thick piece of matter. You could stab it with, you know, utensil, it wouldn't go anywhere. Blood clots usually disintegrate or like break apart when you touch it with something. This wasn't going anywhere. You could probably hit someone with it and they'd be like, mm. The second piece, my boyfriend had to actually pull out of me. That, it obviously was still placenta, because like it had a tail on it, like it was connected to something. This piece, it looked like an organ, and we ended up keeping it because we didn't know we knew we needed to do something with it, or show someone it. We took pictures, but we also wanted to keep it. Well, apparently it's supposed that you're supposed to hold on to things until you see by your doctor when you pass stuff. So there we go. Once that happened, the bleeding slowed down a lot, and I called the OBGYN like late night, tried to see who was on call that night. Now I tried to get the black doctor. I wanted her specifically because I wanted a second opinion, because I didn't feel comfortable with what I got the first time, and I just didn't want to hear from him at all, because I just felt like he was just going to keep telling me the same stuff, and I'm just like, dude. Oh, keep in mind, with the ultrasound that I got earlier that day, they said they saw no placenta in my uterus, nothing. Yet I'm still passing placenta. So it's stuff like that. It just makes you second guess, you know, what is actually being told to you, and it just makes you not trust who you're getting medical advice from. And I didn't want medical advice from that person anymore, so I tried to get it from a different person, and unfortunately the same doctor who delivered my child called me back and basically was just spitting the same stuff, like spitting the same thing that he was saying earlier. And we're trying to tell him, like, I'm trying to see if I can get any antibiotics, something, in case I get an infection, which I don't want to get, because I have to take care of a baby. Like, I can't be out like this and going through this and something bad end up happening. So pretty much he was just like, no, you can't get antibiotics unless your temperature is high. And I'm like, okay, what is high? And he goes like, oh, anything over 104. And I'm like, bro, I had that. Like, it doesn't need to be any higher. And he pretty much started like, oh, I don't want to argue with you and blah, blah, blah. And so my boyfriend pretty much took the phone and took it from there. The conversation did not go well. Not acceptable at all for a doctor. So after that, you know, that whole interaction, I did not feel comfortable seeing that doctor ever again. The OBGYN called the next day and was just like seeing how I was doing, la la la, and if I needed to come in to see, you know, the other doctor that delivered my child. And I pretty much let them know I don't feel comfortable seeing him ever again. And they was like, okay, that's fine, you can see a different one. And they assigned me to the black doctor. who I ended up seeing the following Monday. And long story short, when I got to her, I brought the tissue that I passed, showed her the picture, and she pretty much said, yes, this looks like placenta. She took the matter that was that I passed. She said they'll even test it to make sure that's what it is. They even did another ultrasound this time. They went inside, not do a general ultrasound, and she did say my uterus looked a lot better than last time, and that I basically, you know, like, things should be fine from here on out. I did feel a little more comfortable. You know, ever since then, I haven't passed anything else. Nothing else came out. The other doctor even asked if the doctor who birthed my son, if he gave any antibiotics or anything, or if he gave like me any medicine to, you know, for what I was feeling. And I told her no, because it didn't seem like it was taken seriously. And, you know, granted, I didn't need any at that point because, you know, I was feeling better, and I felt a little over it at that point. But to know that that had to happen in order for me to, you know, feel comfortable, I didn't appreciate that at all. My boyfriend did end up, you know, filing complaints to, you know, the medical board that doctor is over. We're currently dealing with that right now. I'm probably going to end up switching OBGYNs once I do like my postpartum checkup, because I guess doctor, like, they want you to finish up where you started and then you can go to another place. But yeah, that's basically my labor and delivery story. Everything was cool up until, you know, that part happened for me, which wasn't ideal. Like, everything was fine up until then, and I was just literally just like, why is this happening? Like, I don't understand why this is going on, because I'm just like, during my whole pregnancy, I had no complications. I had none. No, like, nothing that raised flags to anyone. Like, I was healthy, no high blood pressure, no anything. My delivery wasn't even a problem. It was super quick. Just the doctor was just being careless and probably was trying to rush so he can go like play golf or something, which, again, more black OBGYNs, please. Please, please, please. But yeah, that's pretty much my whole story. If you've experienced anything similar, if this story, you know, helps you in any way in the future, you know, something to look out for, let me know. Because, you know, this was new to me. I didn't know that this was something that could happen. Granted, some people that I even spoke to when telling them that, they were just like, I've never heard of anything like that before. Neither have we. So yeah, this is all a new experience. So if it helps anyone in any way, then cool with me. But yeah, I'm going to end it here because I feel like this is where people start rambling. If you have any questions you would like to ask of anything that I've mentioned that I can publicly say, just leave a comment and I'll respond. And until then, I will see you in my next video.